The Secret History of Hogwarts Founders. On quiet nights, when the candles in Hogwarts burn low and the corridors rest in gentle silence, it is easy to imagine that the castle itself remembers everything. Not just the famous names, not just the battles and the victories, but the softer moments too. The doubts, the disagreements spoken in low voices, the hopes that shaped the very stones beneath our feet. Long before Hogwarts became the greatest school of magic in the world, it was only an idea shared between four extraordinary witches and wizards, each carrying a different dream of what magical education could be. Godric Gryffindor believed in courage, Helga Hufflepuff believed in kindness, Rowena Ravenclaw believed in wisdom, and Salazar Slytherin believed in tradition and purity of magical blood. Yet in the beginning, they were not divided. They traveled together across the British Isles at a time when magic was feared, when witches were hunted, and when young magical children often had nowhere safe to learn who they truly were. Their purpose was simple but brave: to build a sanctuary where magic could grow without fear. In those early years, the founders did not think of houses, banners, or rivalries. They thought of protection. And so Hogwarts was raised not merely as a school, but as a living fortress of enchantments. The magic that holds Hogwarts together. One of the quiet wonders of Hogwarts lies in something most students never question: the castle's ability to protect itself. From the very beginning, the founders worked together to weave a layered magical defense system that still functions today. This was not one single spell, but a network of enchantments layered like invisible threads through stone, wood, and air. Rowena Ravenclaw designed the castle's magical architecture. She believed that magic should not simply be powerful, but intelligent. Under her guidance, Hogwarts became responsive. Staircases learned to move, doors learned when to open, walls learned to listen. These are not accidents of magic. They are the result of a rare discipline called sentient enchantment, magic that responds to intention rather than command. It allows Hogwarts to guide lost students, protect hidden chambers, and even sense danger before it arrives. Meanwhile, Helga Hufflepuff focused on the hearth magic of the school: the warmth in the kitchens, the comfort in the common rooms, the feeling of safety that greets new students when they step inside for the first time. She believed that magic thrived best where people felt they belonged. Godric Gryffindor took responsibility for defense. He worked closely with wizarding clans skilled in protective charms, embedding powerful warding spells that still shield Hogwarts from dark forces today. These wards do not repel danger through violence, but through misdirection. Many who wish harm simply lose their way before they ever reach the gates. And Salazar Slytherin, brilliant and proud, contributed knowledge of ancient blood magic, enchantments tied to lineage and magical inheritance. It was powerful, subtle, and deeply controversial. At the time, they trusted each other, but seeds of division had already been planted. 4 visions, 1 dream. In the early decades of Hogwarts, students were not sorted. All were taught together. Young witches and wizards learned side by side, regardless of talent or temperament. Yet as the school grew, so did disagreement. Godric began to worry that bravery was being overshadowed by ambition. Helga feared that kindness was being forgotten in favor of prestige. Rowena saw brilliant minds going unnoticed because they did not fit traditional molds. And Salazar Slytherin grew increasingly concerned about something far deeper. He believed that magic itself was weakening. In his view, as magical families mixed with non-magical bloodlines, ancient abilities were fading. He did not see this as prejudice, he saw it as preservation. This belief led him to advocate for selective teaching. He wanted Hogwarts to serve only those he believed could carry magic forward in its purest form. The others disagreed. To Helga, magic belonged to anyone born with it, no matter their family. To Godric, courage mattered more than blood. To Rowena, the mind mattered more than heritage. What began as philosophical debate slowly became personal. And so the idea of houses was born, not as a division, but as a solution. Each founder would guide students according to the values they believed magic needed most: courage, kindness, wisdom, ambition. The sorting hat itself was once Rowena's enchanted circlet, altered through collaborative magic to sense not just talent, but the quiet potential sleeping inside each child. This was one of the first examples of psychomagical attunement in wizarding history, magic that responds to identity rather than ability. It remains one of the most advanced magical systems ever created. The quiet beginning of the rift. For a time, the houses worked beautifully. Students thrived, Hogwarts flourished, the founders were celebrated. But Salazar Slytherin felt increasingly alone. He watched Muggle-born students rise in talent and feared that ancient magical traditions would disappear within a few generations. His concern turned to secrecy. His pride turned to silence. And somewhere deep beneath the castle, in chambers hidden even from his fellow founders, he began to prepare something that would one day become legend. Not yet a weapon, not yet a monster, but a safeguard in his mind, a last defense of his vision. Yet before that secret could shape the future, another moment would change everything. A moment when friendship finally gave way to separation, and when Hogwarts would lose one of its creators. The quiet departure of Salazar Slytherin. There came a morning when the castle felt different. No bells rang to announce it, no students whispered about it in the corridors, yet the air itself seemed to know that something important had changed. Salazar Slytherin was preparing to leave Hogwarts, not in anger, not in open conflict, but in a silence that felt heavier than any argument.
In the weeks before his departure, he had withdrawn from the Great Hall, from the long evenings of discussion beside the fire, from the gentle debates that once defined the friendship between the founders. He still taught, he still walked the halls, but something in his presence had shifted, like a candle burning lower each night. Godric noticed first. He tried to speak with Salazar in the old way, as a friend rather than a rival. But their conversations no longer carried warmth. They circled the same beliefs again and again without moving closer to understanding. Rowena, ever perceptive, saw that Salazar's ideas were no longer just theories. He was building something in secret, not for glory, not for power, but for what he believed would be protection in a darker future. And Helga simply felt sorrow. She believed that no vision of magic could survive if it was born from fear rather than hope. Yet Salazar did not see himself as fearful. He saw himself as the last guardian of an ancient flame. The chamber that time forgot. Long before it became legend, the Chamber of Secrets was something else entirely. It was not built as a place of terror. It was designed as a sanctuary. Salazar believed that if the world outside Hogwarts ever turned fully against magic, there must be a final defense hidden beyond the reach of politics, war, or betrayal. The chamber was meant to be sealed away from history, waiting only for someone who understood his original intent. To construct it, Salazar employed a rare form of magic known as hermetic enchantment, spells bound not to space alone, but to lineage and intention. This meant the chamber could not be found through maps or spells alone. It required a parcel mouth, someone who carried the ancient serpentine magic in their blood. Not because Salazar loved secrecy for its own sake, but because he believed that magic tied to ancestry was more resistant to corruption. The creature placed within the chamber, the basilisk, was never meant to roam freely. It was bound by layers of command magic, designed to remain dormant unless awakened by a very specific sequence of magical triggers. In Salazar's mind, it was not a monster. It was a guardian in eternal sleep. The tragedy of the future would come not from its existence, but from the misunderstanding of its purpose.
The magic of blood and legacy. To understand Salazar Slytherin, one must understand the kind of magic he studied. While most witches and wizards focused on wand work and incantations, Salazar explored something far older: hereditary magic. This branch of magic does not flow through words or gestures. It moves through bloodlines, through memory carried in the body itself. Certain abilities, like Parseltongue, appear only in families where magic has been passed down for centuries. Salazar feared that as magical society opened itself to the non-magical world, these rare inheritances would fade, and with them, spells and protections that had once guarded wizardkind during its most dangerous eras. Where others saw progress, he saw erosion. Yet he was not blind to the value of Muggle-born witches and wizards. Many were brilliant, many were kind, many became legends themselves. His fear was not of people, it was of forgetting. Forgetting how magic once protected itself when the world was crueler than it is today. This belief did not make him gentle, but it made him sincere. The Night of Separation. Salazar left Hogwarts without ceremony. There was no duel, no dramatic farewell, only 4 figures standing in the moonlit courtyard where the future of the school had once been dreamed into existence. Godric wanted to challenge him, to demand that he stay and fight for his vision within the walls they built together. But he saw that Salazar's heart had already crossed a bridge none of them could follow. Rowena said little. She understood that minds sometimes walk paths that cannot be shared. Helga wept, not for what Salazar had become, but for what they all once were. Salazar looked at the castle one last time, and for a moment there was no pride in his eyes, only grief. He left behind his house, he left behind his friends, he left behind a legacy that would echo for centuries. Yet Hogwarts did not forget him, and neither did magic.
How Hogwarts survived without a founder. After Salazar's departure, many believed Hogwarts would fracture, but something remarkable happened instead. The remaining 3 founders grew closer. Godric strengthened the school's defenses, not just with spells, but with alliances. He worked with magical communities across Britain, ensuring Hogwarts would never stand alone again. Rowena expanded the school's curriculum, introducing structured magical theory. It was under her guidance that Hogwarts developed the foundation of modern spellcraft education, where students learned not just how to cast spells, but why they worked. This approach shaped generations of witches and wizards into thinkers, not merely practitioners. And Helga became the quiet heart of the school. She created systems of care that lasted long after her time, the tradition of welcoming every student, the unseen magic that makes Hogwarts feel like home rather than a fortress. Even the way house elves came to work in the kitchens traces back to her belief that every being deserved dignity within magical society. Together, they transformed Hogwarts from a daring experiment into an enduring institution, not through power, but through balance. The long shadow of a hidden legacy. Even after his departure, Salazar's influence lingered, not in speeches, not in policies, but in whispers. Stories of the chamber passed from generation to generation, growing darker each time they were told. What began as a secret safeguard slowly became a symbol of fear. And yet, deep beneath the castle, the magic of the founders still remained in harmony. The sentient enchantments, the protective wards, the hearth spells, the hidden seals. 4 visions still bound together, waiting. Because history does not truly move forward by erasing the past. It moves forward by learning how to carry it more gently. When legends became traditions. Time has a gentle way of turning people into stories. Years passed after Salazar's departure, and then decades. The founders themselves slowly stepped away from daily teaching, leaving Hogwarts in the care of the first headmasters and mistresses who had once been their students. Their voices faded from the corridors, but their presence did not, because Hogwarts had learned how to remember. Not through portraits alone, though those would come later. Not through songs, though many would be written, but through habits, through traditions that quietly carried the founders' values forward. Every time a frightened child stepped into the Great Hall for the first time, Helga's legacy was there. Every time a brave student stood up for what was right, Godric's spirit stirred. Every time a clever mind asked a question no spellbook could answer, Rowena smiled somewhere beyond sight. And every time ambition sparked in a young heart, Salazar's shadow lingered, not always dark, but always powerful. Yet, in these early centuries, Hogwarts was still learning what it meant to guide the future of magic.
The birth of magical governance. One of the least spoken chapters of Hogwarts history is how the school became more than a place of learning. It became a quiet pillar of wizarding government. In the centuries after the founders, magical Britain had no clear structure. Wizards lived in scattered communities, protected by secrecy, but divided by distance. Conflicts were often settled through duels or family feuds rather than law. Hogwarts changed that. Graduates of the school began to carry shared values into the wider world. They trusted each other, not because of bloodlines, but because they had once studied under the same roof. Slowly, this created something new, a sense of magical society. From this network of former students emerged the early councils that would one day become the Ministry of Magic. This was not planned by the founders, but it was made possible by them. Hogwarts did not rule, it influenced. And influence, when guided gently, lasts longer than power. The living system of Hogwarts. By this time, the castle itself had grown more aware, not alive in the way humans are alive, but conscious in its own magical way. Through centuries of sentient enchantment, Hogwarts developed what scholars later called a responsive magical ecosystem. This means that the castle does not simply hold spells, it interprets them. When danger approaches, staircases subtly shift. When secrets need protection, doors refuse to open. When students are lonely, common rooms feel warmer. This system does not think, it listens. Rowena's early work had planted the seed, but generations of witches and wizards unknowingly nurtured it through daily life. Every spell cast in kindness strengthened the castle's gentler instincts. Every spell cast in anger left marks that slowly faded as Hogwarts learned what kind of magic it wished to protect. This is why the castle feels different from other magical buildings. It remembers emotion.
The founders in memory. As the founders became legends, their true selves began to blur. Godric Gryffindor turned into a symbol of fearless heroism. Stories forgot his quieter moments, how he once sat with frightened students long into the night, teaching them not how to fight, but how to breathe through fear. Helga Hufflepuff became known simply for kindness, yet few remembered how firm she could be when injustice appeared. She believed deeply in fairness, and she never hesitated to stand against cruelty, even when it came from powerful wizards. Rowena Ravenclaw became the image of pure intellect, but behind that image was a woman who loved poetry, who believed that wisdom without beauty was incomplete. And Salazar Slytherin, he became the villain of the story. His fears were simplified into hatred, his caution became cruelty, his complexity faded into myth. History does this often. It smooths people into shapes that are easier to understand, but the truth remains quieter and far more human. The first true test of Hogwarts' legacy. Several generations after the founders were gone, Hogwarts faced its first great trial. A dark wizard rose in the north of Britain, gathering followers who believed magic should dominate the non-magical world. He sought to use fear as a weapon, promising safety only to those who joined him. For the first time, Hogwarts was forced to decide what it stood for beyond education. The headmistress of the time, a former Ravenclaw named Elspeth Fawley, made a choice that would shape the future of the school. She opened Hogwarts as a sanctuary, not a fortress of war, but a place of refuge for magical families fleeing violence. The castle's wards were strengthened not to repel armies, but to hide those who needed safety. This moment revealed something profound about the founders' combined legacy. From Godric came the courage to resist tyranny. From Helga came the compassion to shelter the vulnerable. From Rowena came the wisdom to choose peace over power. And even from Salazar came the understanding that magic must protect itself, though in a gentler way than he had imagined. The dark wizard fell, not through battle alone, but through the quiet unity of a community that refused to be ruled by fear.
How houses became homes. In the centuries that followed, the houses of Hogwarts changed. They were no longer simply reflections of the founders' ideals. They became families. Students began to identify not just with values, but with one another. Traditions formed within each house, songs, rituals, even small superstitions. These were not written in any book. They grew naturally, like moss on old stone. And through this, Hogwarts achieved something rare in magical history. It taught young witches and wizards that difference did not mean division. Rivalries existed, yes, but so did respect. The founders' greatest gift was not the houses themselves, it was the space between them, the place where courage met kindness, where ambition met wisdom, where every path of magic found room to grow. The long echo of a secret. Deep beneath the castle, the Chamber of Secrets remained hidden. Its magic slept, not as a threat, not as a promise, but as a reminder that even the best intentions can leave shadows. Over time, only fragments of the truth survived. Most believed Salazar had created the chamber out of hatred. Few remembered that he had once loved Hogwarts as deeply as the others. Yet the castle remembered. The sentient enchantments around the hidden chamber softened its presence, dulling the edge of the magic within. It remained sealed, waiting not for revenge, but for understanding that would come centuries later. Because some stories are not meant to end quickly, they wait. When the world grew louder. As centuries passed, the world beyond Hogwarts changed in ways the founders could never have fully imagined. The age of secrecy deepened. The lines between the magical and non-magical worlds became more carefully guarded, and the responsibility of Hogwarts grew heavier, though few spoke of it aloud. For while the castle remained a place of learning, it had quietly become something else as well, a keeper of balance.
The rise of the Statute of Secrecy. One of the most important turning points in wizarding history came long after the founders were gone, when magical communities across Europe agreed to what would later be known as the International Statute of Secrecy. It was not born from fear alone, it was born from exhaustion. For generations, witches and wizards had lived in the open, sometimes welcomed, often hunted. By the late 17th century, the danger had grown too great. Magical families disappeared, ancient lineages faded, knowledge that once passed freely began to vanish. And so, the magical world chose to step back into the shadows. This decision reshaped Hogwarts more than any battle ever could. The school was no longer just a sanctuary for young magic. It became a guardian of culture. Spells that once passed from parent to child were now preserved in classrooms. Traditions that might have faded were protected through teaching. Hogwarts became a living archive, not of books alone, but of ways of being magical. Here we see the founders' influence again. Rowena's love of knowledge ensured that theory survived. Helga's compassion kept community alive. Godric's courage allowed the school to stand firm against fear. And even Salazar's belief in protection found a gentler echo, not in exclusion, but in safeguarding what could easily be lost. The hidden order of the castle. Few students ever realize that Hogwarts operates under a quiet internal structure that has existed since the founders' time. Not a government, not a council, but a magical order of balance. This system is called the Concord of Wards, an ancient alignment of protective enchantments that regulate how magic flows through the school. It ensures that no single type of magic dominates the others. Dark magic is restrained, not forbidden, but softened. Ancient magic is preserved, but not allowed to overpower young minds. Wild magic is guided gently, like a river channeled into safe paths. This is why Hogwarts feels stable even when powerful magic is practiced within its walls. The Concord was not created in one moment. It evolved slowly, shaped by centuries of headmasters, professors, and caretakers who added layers of intention to the founders' original designs. The castle learned restraint, and in doing so, it learned wisdom. When the chamber awakened. There came a time centuries after Salazar's departure when the secret beneath the castle stirred again. The Chamber of Secrets was opened. To the world outside, this moment became one of fear and accusation, a monster roaming the halls. Students turned to stone, whispers of ancient prejudice resurfacing like a shadow thought long buried. But the deeper truth is quieter. The basilisk did not awaken because of hatred alone. It awakened because the ancient seals placed upon it were bound to identity, not morality. The magic that controlled it did not understand good or evil. It understood only lineage and command. This reveals one of the great lessons of wizarding history. Magic remembers rules longer than it remembers reasons. Salazar had built a system that functioned perfectly by its own logic, yet the world had changed around it. What was once meant as protection became danger because the meaning behind the magic was lost. And so Hogwarts learned again, not that ancient magic should be feared, but that ancient magic must be understood. From that time forward, the school quietly expanded its study of contextual enchantment, teaching students not just how spells work, but why they were created and what happens when their purpose is forgotten. This became one of the most important shifts in magical education. Spells were no longer just tools, they became stories. The founders through new eyes. As the modern age approached, scholars began to revisit the lives of the founders with gentler eyes, not to excuse mistakes, but to understand them. Godric was seen not only as a warrior, but as a teacher who believed bravery was kindness in action. Helga was remembered not just as warm-hearted, but as quietly revolutionary, one of the first to argue that magical education should belong to everyone, not merely the elite. Rowena's intellect was no longer viewed as cold brilliance, but as a deep love for the mind's ability to heal the world. And Salazar became the most complex of all. Historians began to see him not simply as a villain, but as a man shaped by a harsher age, an age when magic survived only through secrecy and lineage. His tragedy was not cruelty, it was being unable to imagine a gentler future. Hogwarts in the age of great change. By the time the 20th century arrived, Hogwarts stood in a world louder than ever before. Wars touched the non-magical world. Dark wizards rose and fell. Fear returned in new forms. Yet the castle endured, not because it was the strongest, but because it had learned how to adapt without losing itself. The houses continued to evolve. Rivalries softened into traditions. Differences turned into lessons. Students who once might have stood apart now learned side by side, facing challenges that demanded unity rather than division. Through all this, the founders remained present, not as distant legends, but as guiding echoes. Every decision made by the school carried their voices within it, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in tension, always in balance. The quiet truth of legacy. There is a belief among some magical scholars that Hogwarts itself chose to endure, that the sentient enchantments woven into its walls did more than respond to danger. They responded to values. Over time, the castle learned what kind of magic it wished to protect. Not the loud kind, not the cruel kind, not the proud kind, but the kind that grows quietly in young hearts. Courage that does not seek glory, kindness that does not ask for reward, wisdom that does not demand praise, ambition that learns to care for others. Even Salazar's legacy found peace here at last, not through dominance, but through transformation. His belief in protecting magic survived, reshaped by generations who learned that the best protection is understanding. When the past met the present. There is a moment in every long story when the past and the present quietly touch. For Hogwarts, that moment came not in thunder or flame, but in the ordinary footsteps of modern students walking through ancient halls, unaware that the magic guiding them was older than memory itself. By the time the modern wizarding world emerged from the shadows of the 20th century, Hogwarts had become something rare. Not just a school, not just a symbol, but a living bridge between eras. The modern order of magic. In the age of ministries, regulations, and formal laws, magic became more organized than ever before. The Ministry of Magic rose as a visible authority, yet beneath its rules existed something deeper, an unspoken trust in Hogwarts as the moral heart of wizarding Britain. This trust was not written into law. It did not need to be. For centuries, Hogwarts graduates had shaped the world quietly. They became healers, scholars, aurors, diplomats, and teachers. And wherever they went, they carried something with them that no spell could teach. A way of seeing magic as responsibility rather than privilege. This is one of the founders' most enduring gifts. Not a system, not a structure, but a culture. How Hogwarts teaches without speaking. There is a lesson Hogwarts gives that is never written on any blackboard. It teaches through experience. When a first year struggles to climb a moving staircase, they learn patience. When a student fails a spell in front of classmates, they learn humility. When rivals become allies in a moment of danger, they learn something deeper than any textbook could offer. This is the pedagogy of presence, an ancient educational philosophy that Rowena Ravenclaw once described in her personal journals. It means that a place can teach simply by being what it is. The founders built Hogwarts to be more than classrooms and corridors. They built it to be a teacher. And over time, the castle learned how to guide without commanding, how to shape without forcing. That is why so many witches and wizards, long after graduation, still dream of its halls. Not because of spells, but because of who they became there. The Chamber Revisited. In the modern age, when the Chamber of Secrets was finally uncovered and its dangers laid bare, the wizarding world faced a difficult truth. The past had never been silent. It had simply been waiting. Yet what followed was not destruction, but understanding. Scholars returned to Salazar's magic with new eyes. They studied the hermetic seals, the lineage-bound enchantments, the ancient command structures. And for the first time, they saw clearly what earlier generations could not. Salazar had built a system without teaching its story. And without story, magic loses its meaning. So Hogwarts did what it always does best. It learned. New courses were introduced, not publicly announced, but quietly integrated into advanced magical theory. Students began to study magical ethics, the philosophy of enchantment, and the long history behind the spells they cast. This marked a new chapter in wizarding education, not one of power, but one of wisdom.
The founders as quiet companions. In modern Hogwarts, the founders no longer feel like distant figures carved in stone. They feel like quiet companions. Godric lives on in the courage of students who defend others when it would be easier to stay silent. Helga lives on in the way the school embraces every child, no matter how uncertain their beginnings. Rowena lives on in the endless curiosity that turns learning into joy rather than duty. And Salazar lives on too, not in fear, but in the deep understanding that magic must be protected, though now through compassion rather than exclusion. Time softened them all. Even history learned how to be kinder. Hogwarts in the age of change. The modern wizarding world is fast. New spells are invented, new dangers appear, old traditions are questioned, and through it all, Hogwarts remains. Not unchanged, but faithful to itself. It adapts without losing its soul. It teaches without shouting. It remembers without being trapped by memory. There is a belief among some professors that the castle itself chooses its headmasters, not through magic alone, but through resonance. It seems to sense who will listen to its quieter wisdom, who will protect its deeper purpose. For Hogwarts has never belonged to any one generation. It belongs to the story of magic itself. The secret history revealed. And now, at last, we can understand what the secret history of Hogwarts founders truly is. Not a tale of perfect heroes, not a story of simple villains, but a gentle truth. 4 people came together in a dangerous world and tried to build something kinder than the age they lived in. They did not always succeed. They made mistakes. They argued. They parted ways. Yet the magic they wove together outlived every disagreement, because it was not built on pride. It was built on hope. Hope that children would grow without fear. Hope that magic would be guided by wisdom. Hope that even old beliefs could learn new compassion. And in the quiet hours of the night, when the corridors of Hogwarts glow softly beneath candlelight, that hope still walks the halls, not loudly, not proudly, but faithfully. When memory became meaning. There is a quiet season in every great story, when events slow and understanding begins. For Hogwarts, that season arrived when the wizarding world finally learned how to listen to its own past without fear, not to relive old wounds, not to reopen ancient conflicts, but to learn how to carry memory gently.
The gentle rewriting of history. For centuries, the founder's story had been told in sharp lines. Heroes on one side, a villain on the other. Yet, as time moved forward, scholars and teachers began to sense that this way of remembering was too small for a history so large. They returned to old letters, to forgotten journals, to fragments of spells left behind in dusty archives. And what they found was not a different story, but a deeper one. Godric was not fearless by nature. He had learned courage through doubt. Helga was not endlessly gentle. She had chosen kindness again and again, even when it was hard. Rowena was not distant. She had simply loved ideas as deeply as people. And Salazar had not hated the future. He had feared losing the past. This shift in understanding changed how Hogwarts taught its own origins. The founders were no longer presented as symbols carved from stone. They became people again. And in becoming people, they became easier to learn from. The living tradition of the houses. Over time, the houses themselves evolved into something more than categories. They became living traditions. In Gryffindor Tower, courage came to mean standing up for others quietly, not only charging into danger. In Hufflepuff, loyalty became the art of staying when it would be easier to leave. In Ravenclaw, wisdom grew beyond knowledge, becoming the patience to listen. In Slytherin, ambition slowly transformed into purpose, the desire to build something that lasts. This change did not happen through rules, it happened through example. Older students guided younger ones, professors shaped the tone of each generation, and the castle itself, through its sentient enchantments, gently encouraged balance. In this way, the houses fulfilled what the founders had once dreamed, not division, but harmony through difference. The system that keeps Hogwarts whole. Few outside the school know that Hogwarts operates under a quiet internal framework known among scholars as the Circle of Stewardship. It is not a formal council. It has no meetings, no titles. Instead, it is a living system of responsibility that passes from one generation of staff to the next of staff. Every headmaster or headmistress adds their own layer of intention to the school's protective and guiding magic. These intentions become part of the castle's deeper structure, shaping how it responds to future challenges. This is why Hogwarts never becomes frozen in time. The founders laid the foundation, but stewardship keeps the story moving forward. Through this system, the castle learns from each era, from wars, from peace, from mistakes, from hope. It becomes not just a keeper of magic, but a student of history.
The Chamber's final lesson. Long after the Chamber of Secrets had been sealed again, its presence continued to influence how magic was taught, not through fear, but through reflection. Advanced students began studying legacy enchantments, spells that persist across generations and change meaning as the world around them changes. The chamber became the central example, not as a warning of evil, but as a lesson in responsibility. Magic, the professors taught, is never only about intention, it is also about consequence. A spell cast in one century may awaken in another. A safeguard in one era may become a danger in the next. This understanding reshaped magical education. Students were encouraged to think not just like spellcasters, but like caretakers of the future. In this way, even Salazar's most controversial legacy became part of Hogwarts' gentler wisdom. The founders in the quiet moments. If you listen closely at Hogwarts, you can feel the founders most strongly not in grand ceremonies, but in small moments. In the hush of the library at dusk, in the soft laughter drifting from the kitchens, in the steady courage of a student standing up for a friend, in the thoughtful silence of someone choosing patience over pride. This is how legacies truly endure, not through monuments, but through habits of the heart. When the world looks to Hogwarts. In times of crisis, the wizarding world still turns its eyes toward the castle on the hill, not because Hogwarts holds the greatest spells, but because it holds the longest memory. When fear rises, Hogwarts remembers kindness. When anger spreads, Hogwarts remembers restraint. When ambition grows sharp, Hogwarts remembers balance. This is the quiet power of the Founders' true gift. They did not just build a school, they planted a way of thinking about magic that outlived them all.
The meaning of their story. And so, as we step deeper into the modern age, the secret history of Hogwarts founders reveals itself, not as a tale of conflict, but as a story of transformation. 4 people met in a difficult world. They tried to make something better. They did not always agree. They did not always succeed. Yet together, they created a place that learned how to become wiser than any one of them. That is the true magic of Hogwarts. Not the spells, not the towers, not even the legends, but the quiet truth that even imperfect beginnings can grow into something enduring and kind. When stories learn how to rest. There comes a gentle hour in every long tale when the story no longer rushes forward. It begins to breathe. For Hogwarts, that hour arrived when the world finally learned how to live with its own history instead of running from it. The castle still stood on its ancient cliffs, unchanged in shape, yet transformed in spirit. What once had been a bold experiment in a fearful age had become something softer, wiser, and deeply rooted in understanding. And in that quiet transformation, the Founders' final gift began to reveal itself. The quiet role of Hogwarts in the modern world. In the modern wizarding age, power no longer comes from spells alone. It comes from trust. And Hogwarts has become one of the most trusted places in magical society, not because it commands, not because it rules, but because it listens. When debates rise in the ministry, Hogwarts offers perspective. When fear spreads through the community, Hogwarts offers steadiness. When young witches and wizards feel lost, Hogwarts offers belonging. This is the Founders' influence at its most refined. They did not build a throne, they built a hearth, and the world learned to gather around it. The gentle science of magical balance. Among advanced scholars, there is now a quiet field of study called harmonic magic. It explores how different forms of magic interact, not through force, but through resonance. The idea is simple, though its implications are vast. Magic behaves differently when surrounded by care. At Hogwarts, this principle has shaped everything from classroom design to spell instruction. Professors are taught not merely to teach incantations, but to shape the emotional atmosphere in which those spells are learned. Because magic, when learned in fear, becomes rigid. Magic, when learned in kindness, becomes flexible. Magic, when learned in wisdom, becomes enduring. This is why Hogwarts produces not only powerful witches and wizards, but thoughtful ones. It is not an accident. It is the long echo of the Founders' shared intention.
The Founders as living symbols. In modern times, the Founders are no longer seen as distant figures in dusty textbooks. They have become companions in thought. Students speak of Gryffindor when they need courage to tell the truth. They think of Hufflepuff when choosing patience over pride. They remember Ravenclaw when seeking clarity in confusion. They reflect on Slytherin when learning to shape ambition with care. This is how legends become gentle guides, not loud, not demanding, but quietly present. The castle that learned compassion. There's a belief among some caretakers that Hogwarts itself has grown kinder. that the sentient enchantments woven through its halls have softened over centuries, shaped by the countless acts of courage, loyalty, curiosity, and growth that have passed through its walls. Doors open more easily now, staircases guide more gently, rooms seem to offer comfort without being asked. Whether this is true magic or simply the human heart interpreting its home, no one can say. But those who have lived at Hogwarts long enough feel it. The castle is not just protected by spells, it is protected by memory. The lasting lesson of the chamber. Even the Chamber of Secrets, once a symbol of fear, has become something else. Not forgotten, not erased, but understood. Advanced students now learn about it not in whispers, but in quiet classrooms where history is treated with care. They study how magic tied too tightly to one idea can lose its way when the world changes. And in this, Salazar Slytherin's story finally finds peace. Not because his mistakes are ignored, but because his intentions are finally understood in full. He loved magic fiercely. He feared its loss deeply, and in time, his fears became lessons that helped future generations protect magic in gentler ways. This is the strange mercy of history. Even its darkest chapters can become teachers.
When Hogwarts looks at itself, there are rare moments, usually late at night, when the castle seems almost reflective. When the wind moves softly through the towers, when the great hall rests in shadow, when the portraits sleep. In those moments, Hogwarts feels less like a school and more like a memory made of stone. A memory of 4 people who believed that magic deserved a kinder future. A memory of every child who found courage in its halls. A memory of every mistake that taught wisdom. A memory of every quiet victory that no one ever celebrated. The secret that was always there. And now, after all the centuries, all the conflicts, all the legends, the secret history of Hogwarts founders reveals itself in its simplest form. They were not trying to create greatness. They were trying to create safety. Safety for magic. Safety for children. Safety for a world that did not yet know how to be gentle. Everything that followed, the houses, the legends, the conflicts, the triumphs, grew from that one quiet wish, to build a place where magic could grow without fear. When the echoes found their place. In the longest stories, there is a point where the echoes of the past stop calling for attention. They do not disappear, they simply settle into the walls. For Hogwarts, this moment came quietly, without ceremony, when the world finally learned to live alongside its own history rather than constantly looking back at it. The founders were no longer figures to argue over. They became presences to live with. And that changed everything. The subtle power of continuity. In the modern age, Hogwarts no longer needs to prove its importance. Its influence flows gently, like a river that has shaped its valley so completely that no one remembers the land before it. Every generation of students brings something new into the castle, new ideas, new hopes, new fears. And every generation leaves something behind, not in stone or parchment, but in the invisible memory of the place itself. This is the quiet system that truly sustains Hogwarts. Not rules, not traditions alone, but continuity. A living chain of care that passes from one student to the next, from one teacher to another, from one century to the next. The founders began that chain, but it is carried forward by countless ordinary acts of kindness and courage. The way magic learns from people. One of the most beautiful truths about Hogwarts is something few ever think to ask. Does magic change people, or do people change magic? over the centuries, scholars have come to believe the second answer is closer to the truth. The sentient enchantments of the castle did not become gentle on their own. They were shaped by the generations who lived among them. Each act of bravery softened the wards. Each moment of compassion strengthened the hearth magic. Each choice to learn rather than dominate refined the castle's deeper instincts. This is why Hogwarts feels different from any other magical place. Not because it holds more power, but because it holds more memory of care. In this way, the founders' work continued long after their voices faded. They built a place where magic could learn from people. The quiet evolution of the houses. As time moved forward, the houses themselves entered a new era. No longer defined by rivalry, they became defined by stewardship. Older students began mentoring younger ones, not because rules demanded it, but because tradition gently encouraged it. House pride transformed from competition into responsibility. To belong to a house was no longer simply to wear its colors. It was to carry its values forward in small daily choices. A Gryffindor learned that courage could be as quiet as telling the truth. A Hufflepuff learned that loyalty meant staying when others walked away. A Ravenclaw learned that wisdom sometimes meant admitting uncertainty. A Slytherin learned that ambition could build, not only claim. This was the founders' dream, realized not through design, but through time. The lasting shape of Salazar's legacy. Of all the founders, Salazar's story continued to evolve the most. Not in books, not in lectures, but in how people thought about power. The Chamber of Secrets, once feared, became a case study in advanced magical ethics. Students learned not only what happened, but why it happened, how magic created in one age must be reinterpreted in another. This gave rise to a modern discipline known as adaptive enchantment, the study of how ancient spells can be reshaped to serve present values without losing their strength. Through this, Salazar's deepest instinct found a gentler form. He wanted magic to survive. Now it did, not through exclusion, but through understanding. Even his most controversial ideas became seeds for wiser practices, not erased, transformed. Hogwarts as a place of return. There is something every former student knows, even if they never say it aloud. No matter how far you go, a part of you always belongs to Hogwarts. People return in different ways. Some return as teachers, some as parents bringing their children for the first time, some only in dreams. But all return in memory, and the castle welcomes them all. This is not nostalgia, it is continuity of the heart, a sign that the founders did not merely create a school, they created a home that lasts beyond childhood. When the castle listens to the future. In recent times, Hogwarts has begun to feel something new. Not change, but anticipation. The world is moving again, just as it did in the Founders' Age. New challenges rise, old divisions test themselves in new forms, and once more, young witches and wizards arrive carrying the questions of a changing era. The castle listens, not with ears, but with the deep memory of everything it has already survived. And in that listening, it prepares, not for war, but for guidance. Because Hogwarts has learned what the founders once hoped, that the greatest magic is not in defending the past, it is in helping the future grow wiser than what came before. The gentle presence of the founders. Now, when students walk beneath the ancient arches, they do not feel watched, they feel accompanied
by courage that does not shout, by kindness that does not demand, by wisdom that does not judge, by ambition that does not consume. The founders no longer stand apart from the story. They have become part of the atmosphere of Hogwarts itself. And in that quiet way, their work is finally complete. Not finished, but fulfilled. When the story learned how to breathe. There is a point in every long journey when the road no longer feels like a path forward. It feels like a place to rest. For Hogwarts, that place was not found in silence alone, but in a deep and gentle understanding that the work begun by the founders had never truly ended, because it had never needed to. It simply continued in quieter and wiser ways.
The calm authority of Hogwarts. In the present age, Hogwarts no longer stands at the center of wizarding politics, and yet its influence is everywhere. When new laws are written, the ministry often looks first to how Hogwarts has already handled similar challenges within its walls. When disputes arise between magical communities, mediators are often former students who learned the art of listening long before they learned the art of casting spells. This is a form of leadership that does not announce itself. It leads by example. The founders never imagined a world ruled by Hogwarts, but they created a world gently guided by it. The subtle education of the heart. Modern magical education has begun to recognize something that Hogwarts always understood instinctively, that knowledge alone is not enough. Students now study wand work, potions, and enchantments, but they also learn something quieter, something that cannot be graded or tested. They learn how to belong through shared meals, through late-night conversations in common rooms, through the small courage it takes to ask for help, through the kindness it takes to offer it. This is the hidden curriculum of Hogwarts, the education of the heart. Rowena once wrote that wisdom begins when learning becomes a form of care. Helga believed that kindness was the truest measure of success. Godric taught that bravery without compassion was only noise. And even Salazar, in his own flawed way, believed that magic must be protected if it was to endure. Together, these ideas became something far greater than any single philosophy. They became the soul of Hogwarts. The castle's deepest memory. There are scholars who believe that Hogwarts holds a memory deeper than any written record, not in books, not in portraits, but in the very enchantments that hold its stones together. They speak of a phenomenon called resonant remembrance, the idea that powerful intentions can linger in magical structures long after their creators are gone. If this is true, then Hogwarts is not just remembering the founders, it is still listening to them. Not to their arguments, not to their disagreements, but to the hope that once brought them together in the first place. A hope that magic could grow in safety. A hope that children could learn without fear. A hope that the future might be kinder than the past. When students become the story. In every generation, there are students who leave Hogwarts believing they were shaped by the castle. And in every generation, the castle is shaped by them in return. This is the quiet exchange that keeps the story alive. A student who chooses mercy adds something invisible to the halls. A teacher who listens instead of commands strengthens the school's deeper magic. A headmaster who leads with humility leaves a trace that lasts longer than any decree. Through this, Hogwarts becomes a place where history does not merely live in the past, it walks in the present. The founders at peace. If we could step beyond time for a moment, perhaps we would see the founders not as they are carved in memory, but as they once were. 4 people standing in the early dawn beside a half-built castle. Tired, hopeful, unsure. Not legends, not symbols, just people trying to make something better than what they inherited. They could not see everything their work would become. They could not foresee every mistake. They could not prevent every sorrow. But they gave the future something priceless, a place where magic could grow kinder with each generation. And that, more than any spell or monument, is how they finally found peace. The story that never truly ends. So now, as the candles burn low once more in the great hall and the castle settles into another quiet night, the story of Hogwarts' founders continues in the only way it ever truly could. Not in grand chapters, not in dramatic endings, but in the steady rhythm of ordinary days. A student opening a book, a professor offering patience, a friend choosing courage over comfort. These are the moments that carry the founders' legacy forward, not loudly, not proudly, but faithfully. When quiet became strength. There is a season in every long story when gentleness becomes the truest form of power. For Hogwarts, that season arrived not after victory or disaster, but after understanding, when the school learned that it no longer needed to defend its past, it only needed to protect its future. The invisible work of guidance. In the modern era, Hogwarts does its most important work quietly, not in grand assemblies, not in sweeping declarations, but in the steady presence of teachers who choose patience over authority, and in traditions that shape hearts long before they shape careers. There is a principle among the staff, passed down like a whisper rather than a rule. It is called the quiet mandate. It means that no child is ever guided by force alone. No student is ever corrected without care. No power is ever celebrated without responsibility. This is not written in any charter. It lives in the culture of the school. The founders did not invent it, but they made it possible. One of the most remarkable systems to emerge from Hogwarts over the centuries is something scholars now call reflective leadership. Unlike traditional authority, which relies on command, reflective leadership is built on example. It teaches future leaders to listen before they act, to consider before they decide. This system did not begin in a classroom. It grew naturally from the way the founders worked together, even when they disagreed. Godric showed that courage could mean restraint. Helga showed that kindness could mean firmness. Rowena showed that intelligence could mean humility. Salazar showed, even through error, that conviction must one day answer to compassion. And so Hogwarts began producing leaders who did not seek to rule. They sought to serve. This is why, in times of crisis, the wizarding world often finds its calmest voices among those who once walked these halls. The castle's new kind of protection. Long ago, Hogwarts relied on wards and barriers to keep danger away. Today, it relies on something subtler, understanding. The castle still holds powerful enchantments, of course, but alongside them now flows a newer system known among magical theorists as adaptive safeguarding. Unlike old defensive magic, which repels threats, adaptive safeguarding responds to change. When fear rises in the world, Hogwarts increases support rather than secrecy. When confusion spreads, it strengthens teaching rather than restriction. When conflict appears, it creates space for dialogue rather than division. This system teaches a quiet truth. Protection is no longer only about walls. It is about wisdom. The founders in the small details. If someone were to walk through Hogwarts with careful eyes, they might notice something unusual. The founder's influence is no longer loud. It hides in small details. In the way first years are gently guided by older students. In the way disagreements are settled in conversation rather than confrontation. In the way ambition is praised when it builds and questioned when it harms. These are not accidents. They are echoes of 4 visions slowly learning how to live together, not in perfection, but in balance. When tradition meets tomorrow. The wizarding world now stands on the edge of changes the founders never imagined. New forms of magic are being explored. New relationships form between magical and non-magical worlds. Old assumptions are gently questioned, and Hogwarts stands ready, not to resist change, but to guide it. This is the school's greatest evolution. Once it protected magic from the world, now it helps magic find its place within it. And in doing so, it fulfills the founder's deepest hope. Not that Hogwarts would remain the same, but that it would remain wise. The quiet courage of continuity. There is courage in battle, and there is courage in staying. Hogwarts has chosen the second. Through centuries of transformation, it has remained a place where stories do not end when the heroes leave. They continue in the lives of ordinary students who carry forward something greater than any spell. A way of being magical, a way of being kind, a way of being brave without being loud. The story that keeps walking. And so, even now, as the founder's tale stretches gently across time, it does not rush toward a conclusion. It walks beside the present. In every lesson taught with patience, in every tradition passed with care, in every child who learns that magic is not only what you can do, but who you choose to be. The secret history of Hogwarts founders is no longer hidden. It lives quietly in the school they created, where the story comes to rest. There is a moment in every long tale when the words grow softer, not because there is nothing left to say, but because everything that truly matters has already been spoken, not in sound, but in meaning. For Hogwarts, that moment has always arrived at night, when the corridors fall quiet, when the portraits drift into gentle sleep, when the candles burn low, not in farewell, but in peace. And in that stillness, the story of the founders finally finds its rest. The place they never truly left. Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, Salazar Slytherin. Their footsteps no longer echo through the halls, yet their presence has never faded. It lives in every choice a student makes when no one is watching. In every moment a teacher chooses patience over pride. In every quiet act of courage that never finds its way into legend. This is how they remain, not as names in stone, not as figures in books, but as habits of the heart. The castle that became their voice. Hogwarts no longer needs to tell the founder's story aloud. The castle tells it for them. In the way the staircases guide the lost. In the warmth that greets the frightened. In the calm that settles even after great storms. If sentient enchantment truly holds memory, then Hogwarts remembers not the conflicts, not the arguments, not even the partings. It remembers the beginning. 4 people standing together in a dangerous world, choosing hope when fear would have been easier, choosing unity when division was simpler, choosing to build when others only tried to survive. That choice became the soul of the school. The quiet fulfillment of their dream. The founders once dreamed of a place where magic could grow without fear. They could not know how far that dream would travel. Through centuries of change, through wars and peace, through mistakes and understanding. They could not know that their imperfect beginning would become a perfect lesson. That true magic is not found in control, but in care. Not in power, but in patience. Not in certainty, but in the courage to learn. And now, long after their voices have faded from the world, their dream stands quietly fulfilled. Not in grandeur, but in gentleness. The legacy that walks forward. Every year, new students cross the lake. They arrive nervous, excited, unsure of who they will become. And Hogwarts welcomes them as it always has, not with demands, but with possibility. Within its walls, they will learn spells, they will learn history, they will learn courage, kindness, wisdom, and purpose. But most of all, they will learn that magic is not something you wield over others. It is something you grow within yourself. This is the Founder's final gift, a way of shaping the future without ever trying to control it, where the story truly ends. And so, at last, the secret history of Hogwarts Founders comes to rest, not because the story is finished, but because it no longer needs to be told loudly. It lives now in every quiet moment of the school they created, in the hush of the library at dusk, in the warmth of the kitchens at dawn, in the steady courage of a student choosing what is right, in the gentle ambition of someone building something better. The Founders do not stand at the end of this tale. They walk within it, always. And Hogwarts, their greatest creation, continues to do what it has always done best, not guarding the past, not fearing the future, but gently teaching the world how to grow wiser than it once was.